Hello, everybody. My name is BGM.
My name is Zenify.
I'm Bizarro Doxy.
And I'm Richard Satchel.
And you are listening to Greynoise. Welcome to episode 142 of the Greynoise podcast, the podcast that fights halt and catch fire with fire.
And halting.
Yeah, we are recording out of our normal spot, Sin Shop in Las Vegas at 1075 American Pacific Drive, Suite C in Henderson, Nevada. And as you can see, Master Chen, your normal, typical host, is not here today, nor is regular Doxy. Instead, we have Bizarro Doxy. Regular Doxy and Master Chen are on some sort of booze cruise up to Alaska.
Yes.
I heard over Siberia. I don't remember.
One of them
exactly.
is so mad.
Or both of them.
It's bear hugging season.
It's bear hugging season. That's what they're doing. They're hugging bears.
They're hugging.
They're
They're doing cuddly.
Something that involves cuddling.
Just
and
cuddling.
Something about bears too up in Alaska.
Friend cuddle.
Yeah,
It's fine.
A friend cuddle.
Yeah.
Do we have any announcements for the Sin Shop coming up?
Well, Science is Everywhere Festival is on Sunday from
That's coming up.
11 a.m. to 4 p.m.
So if you're listening to this podcast on Monday, it was yesterday.
And it was a great time. We missed it.
Everybody loved it. It was awesome. So Science is where is Science is Everywhere?
At Sin Shop.
Yeah, oh, but that's not everywhere.
No, it's not everywhere.
Okay.
It's everywhere, but it's here. But
Okay.
it's everywhere.
Right.
But also it's here.
Oh. What? Okay.
Well,
That's how
That's
it goes.
awesome.
Got it.
I just joined the Discord as Bizarro Doxy.
Oh, great.
And my verification code starts off with 666.
Makes sense. Everything is working out.
Yeah.
It is working out.
Ninja suits. So how have you been, Bizarro Doxy?
You know, things couldn't be better. Like, DC Comics is really killing it. Like, we had, what, issue 1,000 of Action Comics?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hardcore
Nice.
Superman fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your feelings on cheese?
Cheese?
Yeah.
you love
I
cheese.
love cheese.
Love cheese.
Sounds
Well,
like you
last
love
night
cheese.
I had the 4 cheese. No, it was an 8 cheese pizza.
Oh,
Damn.
wow.
Oh, wow.
They
That's-
couldn't.
so
They couldn't
many
get any
cheeses.
more cheese on that
That's
pizza.
almost
gonna
too
ask.
many cheeses for my fingers to
Yeah.
count.
Right.
And I want to start a new like social media app that's called More Cheese, Please.
I mean, I'd definitely be on it.
Right? The whole point is you go to restaurants and you order whatever it is, and you ask, more cheese, please.
The
Huh.
And then you take a picture and you post it, and anywhere that gives you more cheese on that stuff, right?
you got to rate it.
Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Like, I want cheese on.
I would actually. That actually
On
sounds
whatever-
like a fantastic
Yeah.
idea.
I want cheese on whatever it is I feel like right now, like sushi. More cheese, please.
I feel like one of the requirements to be an editor for that website or the app is you have to go to Olive Garden, and when they ask if you want cheese on your free salad, you say yes. And then when they say, tell me when, you don't say when.
don't say when.
For at least 45 seconds.
See how long they keep doing
Yeah.
it?
Wait for them to get another block of Parmesan to put into the grinder.
Sir, I've ran out of cheese. No, you haven't. Go back to the back and
Not
get some
yet.
more.
Yeah, I know you're lying.
Yep.
So
I did
as
not say
Bizarro
the magic
Doxy,
word.
yeah, I'm launching next week. More cheese, please.
Cannot
So
wait.
download it from the App Store near you for your iPhone.
Yeah,
can't
it's
wait. I
only
can't
it's
wait to
iPhone
download it.
only.
That's right. It's iPhone only. It's an iPhone
Is
exclusive.
it available now for early access? Because I kind of want to get in on this.
Pretty sure it is. So find all the restaurants willing to put all the cheese on whatever it is you want to eat tonight.
Mm,
Yeah.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how's Android? Or do you not like Android?
Androids suck. Who would ever use an Android phone? Like,
Seriously.
if you want Google to spy on everything you do, use an Android.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate.
I mean, you're not lying.
I mean,
Hey, Bizarro Doxy's a smart guy
Yeah. Yeah.
and speaks in third person.
which is a sign of a very stable genius.
I mean, it's
Very
very stable. It's honestly the only way we can tell Bizarro Doxy and regular Doxy apart.
That's true.
Bizarro Doxy's smart.
Yeah.
Speaks in the third person as well.
Oh, third person. Okay. Wow, we're all gonna get beat up. Isn't that how they always end? Bizarro Doxy shows up, then real Doxy comes,
Then they fight.
kicks Bizarro Doxy's ass, and restores the universe.
But
back
which
to-
one's the real
it
one?
depends on if you're Marvel or DC. I mean,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
No, shoot him. I'm the real Doxy.
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
shoot
yeah.
him. I'm the real
Exactly.
Doxy.
Yep.
That's a whole arc. I mean, that can last for years.
Yeah.
So how are the rest of your guys' weeks?
I've been moving.
You've been moving.
It sucks a lot.
Yeah, I've been there.
I mean, I set up my own
Recently.
network, and I have my own network closet now, and
Oh, that's decent.
that's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
don't have a computer?
No, I don't have a computer.
Okay.
I haven't set that up yet.
Okay.
That's on like the back end of priority list. I need to make sure I got my Chromecast up first, because
Yeah.
that was important.
And your
That's very
automation.
All that
Yeah.
Westworld, man.
Dude, I haven't even. Oh man, I forgot the premiere was on Sunday. And I
want me to ruin it for
No,
you?
please don't. I
No.
can't wait.
So
to
there's
watch
a bunch of
No.
and they
You
they
do
did
that. You
the-
do that, and I'll spoil Infinity War for
No.
everybody too.
No.
absolutely Marvel sucks.
How was your week?
Oh, so I started playing Frostpunk.
Uh-huh.
What's that?
If you ever wanted to play a city builder game where you have to answer the question, should we eat our citizens? It's by the people that made This War of Mine.
Oh, that
yeah.
makes so much sense now.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
Did they also do the Troll Fortress one, or there was an old roguelike Troll Fortress where you like burrowed in mines and it was just all about constantly abusing everything.
I mean, it's kind of like that. Basically, the premise is it's post-apocalyptic London, but it's like the early 1900s, late 1800s for some reason.
So it's steampunk,
It's very steampunk.
It's
post-apocalyptic.
post-apocalyptic steampunk.
Steampunk.
Oh, absolutely.
That's an interesting setting.
And there are these giant generators that they generate the heat. So you've got to like get resources and keep that
keep them going.
powered and all this. But you have to decide at some point: am I going to have cemeteries or am I going to have just a snow pit? But if you have a snow pit, you can transplant organs.
Oh, that's
Oh,
pretty
sure.
cool.
But people lose hope because they're just throwing grandma out on a pile of people, you know. So it's like you got to manage that. So
It kind of reminds me of Sunless Sea, if you've ever played that.
Yeah.
It's a like a pirate Lovecraftian-ish game.
Pirate Sea?
Sunless Sea.
Sunless Sea. Oh.
Yeah, it's like, but it's very brutal, and a lot of times you have to resort to eating your own crew because you run out of like resources.
yeah.
But because it's Lovecraftian, madness and sanity plays a big part in the game itself too.
Yeah.
It's really fun, but it's tough. It's a hard game to play.
So I think I played this game just a little bit too much though, because last night I ordered food, and when it
Yeah.
it was I got the message like, hey, food is almost here. I was like, oh cool, I'll go down and wait downstairs. I should go out and wait for him. I can't go outside. It's freaking freezing outside.
But it actually was.
But no, because
No,
I've just been playing Frostpunk.
And it's like 99 degrees in Las Vegas.
99
right now.
degrees in Las Vegas. Yeah.
So-
So you had that weird mental disconnect.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So me, I did nothing. I did absolutely.
how you been?
I went into a closet and it became Friday. So that's.
That'll happen.
Yeah,
that'll
happened.
happen. Absolutely.
I honestly don't remember what I did this week. It was.
So the drugs were working.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't even remember taking them. It's crazy.
That's how you know
Powerful.
it's working.
These are
yeah.
potent drugs. I think they're ibuprofen 200.
I saw a
Um,
post. I saw a post today. It was a Google search that said, "Are they putting something in the drinks to make us forget?" But it was a purple link, so everyone was like, "Oh my god!"
oh yeah. Oh, I already click on this.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's like, "Oh no!"
I love subtle humor like that.
That's amazing.
great.
They've already got to me.
No, I.
The only way out is to click my YouTube video. Sorry, inside joke.
Inside.
I played a little bit of BattleTech this week.
Oh, I heard that was really good.
I haven't gotten far enough in to make a verdict, but it's really cool to shoot like 18 guns at once at these gigantic mountains of metal.
Yeah.
The new BattleTech.
Yeah, the new one.
Does
I
it come
don't-
with a $400 controller?
No, God, no. That was what was the name of that game?
The one for the
Titan,
Xbox.
something Titan. Yeah.
Titan-
Oh, Titanfall.
Not
that was-
Titanfall.
No,
not
no.
Titan-
But
It was
this
it was
is way
something.
before.
Wasn't
Titan,
it BattleTech? I thought it
No.
was Battle Drone or no.
No,
BattleTech. I'm gonna like.
Sorry.
look
but
this
they
up.
had a whole Xbox kit where you got this big controller and had all these levers.
And it was a terrible game.
Oh, was it?
Oh, it was a horrible experience.
Yeah, I never
Steel
played it.
Battalion.
Steel Battalion. that's
Steel
it. Yeah, it had like a
Battalion, that was the name
$300 or
of the game.
$400
Yeah.
controller.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was nuts. It's
Yeah.
for these people who want like the real life mech experience. But no, BattleTech. This one's just a strategy game. It's not Mech Warrior, so it's not first person shooter. It's just strategy and turn based. That's the word I'm looking for.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it does have like. You do interact a lot with the Mech Warriors inside the BattleTechs, kind of like how, if you've ever played XCOM, kind of like how you control your
Yeah.
squads and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
and
like
work with your
turn-based, and
squad.
you set up all the movements,
Yeah.
and then you hit go.
Yeah,
XCOM
and, like,
is one of the most
and there are
brilliant
percentages,
games.
and there are percentages on hit and stuff like that. So Steel
Yeah.
Battalion takes a lot from that, but it also has a lot of like space maneuverability. You get to like pick a lot of different paths you can go. You build up your past, and that plays a part to how your mech is built at the beginning of the game. It's pretty. It's
okay,
pretty
yeah.
fun so far. I just haven't gotten far enough in to really make a verdict.
Yeah, I saw a Let's Play with the beginning of it. It looked like the character creation alone was going to take like a half hour.
It can.
Yeah.
I did the speedy character creation because there happens to be a default preset that kind of looks like me.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you can go in and do advanced, and it has all these other options you can do. But regardless of how you make your guy look, you
Yeah.
pick different
you already
backgrounds and you
did
pick different factions that you came from.
Okay.
That, you know, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing. They
Nice.
I think they took that from Pillars of Eternity, where the character building is based on different backgrounds and stuff like that.
That's neat.
So your faction, your class and everything's already decided.
Kind of based
Kinda
on
the
your
backstory.
background. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever you pick for your background. I made my guy really good at shooting, at shoot bangs, but he's really bad at moving. So,
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
So give
So-
yourself like a Gatling gun and just
Yeah,
be the tank.
I
right?
mean, I'll be artillery. That's fine. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
I want to get further in the game, but I just haven't really had a lot of time. Like I said, that
Because
closet's
the
been-
whole forgetting thing.
What?
Because of the whole forgetting thing.
I don't remember. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, that's my week.
Sick.
You guys, I know you wanted to talk about something. We can bring yours up first if you want.
Yeah, sure. So, apparently the FCC, I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not, because I know
I'm
you
never
guys,
aware of anything.
I know you guys don't know so much about computer stuff
I
and
live
whatnot.
my life in willful ignorance.
I'm a farmer.
I'm a plumber by trade. I don't even know why I'm here. No, but the net neutrality rules were repealed not so long ago. Well, kind of.
There was supposed to be a hard decision made, like a week ago?
Well, they made it, but before those can actually be scrubbed from the books, the repeal has to go, it be posted to the Federal Register, and the Office of Management and Budget has to sign off on the replacement protections that that the FCC is going to institute instead. And it appears as though the FCC is intentionally delaying it just by bureaucratic gridlock. They're just like, nah.
And
Well, we got to fill out this other form, and look at the time, we got to go. So no one knows why. One theory is that they wanted more time to get support to pass basically a law that was like, no, this will totally protect net neutrality, but it really doesn't.
Yeah.
Like a much weaker version of net neutrality. Basically doing things that the ISPs didn't really want to do in the first place, making those illegal.
Yeah,
Like straight up blocking websites. They're like, whatever, we're not going to do that anyway.
Methinks something's on the horizon for Verizon. They're waiting. Verizon is on the verge of doing something, and Agitpie is waiting for them to do it, and then pass the law.
You bet your oversized
a
mug.
former Verizon
Yeah,
dude.
he's a former.
Former.
True.
Yeah.
He still has a lot of hands in that cookie.
There should have been air quotes around that.
Yes, a lot of hands in that Reese's peanut butter cup.
Yeah, that
mug.
giant Reese's peanut butter.
Yeah.
Was that sponsored, or did he just love that cup?
He just, but that makes him quirky and approachable.
Yeah. Fun.
And not
It humanizes him.
Yeah.
Do I have to stop liking Reese's cups now? It's gonna be so hard.
No,
Oh,
no,
no, just-
no.
Yeah.
Just giant mugs.
Oh.
You
It's not
definitely-
about the Reese's. It's not about the Reese's.
It's not. It's about the giant mugs.
It's not the giant mugs.
Because anybody who carries one of those to the office, I mean, shut up.
Yeah.
I feel like
They
there
serve
is a
coffee
taboo
there, come
around
on.
those mugs now.
What's this?
I feel like there is a taboo around those mugs.
There
now.
should be. Because fuck that guy.
But so
That guy specifically with that specific mug.
With that specific mug.
is it all just hearsay as to why they're delaying it?
No, yeah, no one
So
actually has
it
a.
could actually be waiting for something announcement from Verizon.
Well, sure, it could be.
Is that the rumor?
That's not the rumor that they're waiting for something from
my
Verizon.
rumor.
That's your rumor.
That's it.
You
Yeah.
started right here
Yeah, you
Gotcha.
saw it live
On this show.
tonight on
Yep.
the Greynoise podcast
while eating cheese.
while eating cheese.
Totally.
I wish we had
drinking
like,
from a red
cheese
cup.
right now. That'd be so
Me
great.
too. I should have brought some salami and some good cheese and some Bizarro
That's
Doxy.
delicious. Stop it. Oh my god, I'm so hungry now.
Yeah.
But apparently, in addition to that,
Sorry.
oh.
We should bring charcuterie to this podcast.
Oh,
That's
I
the
hate
way to
you.
go.
I will
Because
not
you know,
do
Doc-
that now.
I'm not
real
here.
Doxy
Not-
won't touch
Oh,
any
you're
of the
not either.
cheese.
Nah.
Sweet.
Oh,
We
but
got
it doesn't have to be cheese. We can bring a variety of
It
meats
should
as
just
well.
be all cheese.
Holy
It could
No,
be like
it should be
6
all
different salamis. And
I'll even
cheeses
send it
to
with a little
complement.
note that says courtesy of Bizarro Doxy.
I went to a wedding that had like a cheese plate with crackers. And I never heard of any of these cheeses or crackers, and they were the most delicious fucking things I've ever had.
I
on the
feel
planet.
like the harder time you can pronounce, the harder time you have to pronounce the name of the cheese, the more delicious it ends up being.
That makes total sense now.
Yeah.
I couldn't pronounce a single one of those fucking things.
I don't know what it was. Like I only
Reading
became
is hard.
I of course know what
You're in
a
French, come on.
cheese plate is, but I have only became aware of the word charcuterie like 6 months ago.
Oh, really?
And ever since
So-
then, I've been like, oh my god, I want some.
So it's been around for a while, but a lot.
I have no idea.
We have someone in the audience asking how he became aware.
Yeah.
So charcuterie has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's just recently become like the thing for like hip restaurants to put on their menus.
Okay.
I've seen a lot in pubs lately too. A lot of pubs have like
well,
a
that's
charcuterie
traditional
board.
pub stuff, just to hunk off the
Yeah,
whatever
but
piece of meat.
Like when
Yeah.
I turned 21, it was nowhere. Like
You're lying.
You go,
You're
you
not
go to,
21.
when you go to when I went to a bar when I was 21, it was like chicken fingers, it was
Oh, yeah.
pretzels, it was stuff like
Because
that.
you could buy it in the bag and throw it in
yeah,
the fryer, right?
Yeah, but and now like a lot of these gastro pubs are coming up that have all
Yeah.
these like crazy.
You know, one of the
Yeah.
best ones is in Toronto, Canada. They have a charcuterie plate that's like wild boar and
Oh,
like elk.
that's
and,
crazy. I wanna
yeah,
go there.
It's just fantastic.
It's East Coast though. Oh well.
So aside from the derailment,
Yeah, what's going on?
I forgot.
I feel like whenever we talk about cheese or meats, it's not a derailment.
I mean,
an
it's not. It was a
enhancement to the
very
conversation.
important
It was,
conversation.
absolutely.
And in 2 weeks, we're going to
audience
have a
would
giant
love to
cheese and
know.
meat plate here. But aside that,
If you want, come on down to the podcast.
So there was one other interesting thing in the article that I did want to talk about. Apparently, the some ISPs are worried now that more than half the states in the country are pursuing their own net neutrality rules, and
That's fine. I mean, they can bias themselves out of the market.
so what? How you mean?
wasn't Washington
But-
like a huge proponent of they're trying to make their own net neutrality?
Yeah.
laws?
Washington State?
Yeah,
Yes.
Well, yeah, because a lot of the big tech companies are there. Of course, the tech companies want to make sure that they can't be charged for using all of the bandwidth.
Literally all of it.
Yeah.
No, very true.
So,
then,
when you say like, get themselves out of the market, what do you mean?
Well, because, well,
Well, wait, no, go ahead.
you know what? I don't want to get into it.
What? No, we can get into it.
Yeah.
We,
No, I don't
we
want to
talk
dig
about,
into it.
We
It's
talk
fine.
about these
Fine,
things.
sorry,
now.
I shouldn't have said anything. It's just
Bizarrodoxy.
bizarrodoxy. I don't want to say anything. Sorry. It's just, it's like, do you support government regulation? Like, it's essentially making ISPs into a regulated monopoly by the government, right?
Which one is?
There are actually a lot of them springing up. Municipal ISPs are springing up a lot.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's a very interesting story because Comcast has a lot of agreements with a lot of municipalities that say they cannot build out their own infrastructure. And Comcast makes a habit of suing cities whenever they're like, hey, we're gonna put into our, like, what the cities usually do is they say, when you go to develop a piece of property and you have to dig the trenches to put in all of the utilities, we're going to require you to put some fiber in the ground right alongside next to your electrical stuff and your sewer and everything. Because then eventually, over a number of years, there'll be fiber, enough
Yeah,
fiber
it'll
you can
be
start
everywhere.
linking it
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
and you can build a community network. Well, a lot of cities who do that immediately get sued by Comcast because Comcast had come in years ago when they did their cable infrastructure and said, we will be the exclusive provider of like content over wires.
I feel like there's some sort of antitrust being breached there, but I'm not a lawyer.
I don't know what it is. Yeah.
I do know that.
But I do know that these things exist, and Comcast has sued a number of municipalities, which is why so many cities that want to build fiber networks cannot.
That was part of
That's
what
interesting.
killed Google Fiber,
I
too.
do know, So, Comcast was a big deal in that. But I do know that Fort Collins introduced their municipal ISP for Fort Collins, Colorado, where Comcast is normally the only provider there,
Yeah.
the only broadband provider there. And they weren't sued. In fact, they were able to do their fiber internet for $30 a month for a gigabit.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And especially
And
old
that's
cities.
and they're doing net neutrality. They're not
Yeah.
following.
The biggest problem, the problem comes to a head in the West Coast now, especially because there are a number of cities that were incorporated like in the late 1800s, early 1900s on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Right. East Coast, they are 100 years ahead of us. But
Yeah.
out here, so like when they created these communities, it was right when the country was electrifying and you were starting to have plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these cities put in their own water systems, their own electrical systems. And now they're, 100 years old in some places. And so there's this wave now of like, hey, we should modernize our water system. So a lot of municipalities are digging up all their pipes and replacing them. And because there was no other utility when they created their city, the water system is wholly owned by the city government itself. So they have total control over all the right-of-ways and all that stuff, which doesn't exist in any city that's been created since like the 50s or whatever, right? It's usually a regional water or regional electric
Yeah.
thing. And so, the city I grew up in, was Kent, Washington, was incorporated in like the mid-1800s. And so they have their own water system, they have their own water rights, they have all this stuff, all these right-of-ways. And they wanted to install their own municipal fiber network. It was really big in the early 2000s. Like, hey, we're going to wire up all the schools.
Yeah.
That didn't even get past one city council meeting because, and I don't remember exactly the culprit. I remember it being a cable company or somebody sent a lawyer and just came in and said, you can't, it's illegal. Here's the contract. And they were like, oh, we're done.
I feel like the contracts could be argued though if it's violating antitrust. But again,
yeah.
I'm not a lawyer there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the cities
Unless,
Someone
signed,
should become a lawyer.
unless I mean even utilities aren't aren't immune to antitrust laws, because out here in Las Vegas, MV Energy came under a lot of heat when they chased out Solar City.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
We sure showed them, man. We ran them right out of. Oh wait, no, they're still.
I mean, it worked for taxis and Uber, right? Ran them out of town.
Oh yeah, no more Uber. Well, wait, no.
And Lyft. What is going on?
What the heck?
But I feel like we need like an antitrust lawyer on the show to clear up some of these questions.
Someone in the chat room was saying like nationalizing internet access is a good thing.
I was gonna read
do you
that, yeah.
think? Do you think the wired telephone network is state of the art?
You mean like
No,
landlines?
but it's efficient.
It is efficient, but the wired telephone network, it's probably one of our oldest
Yeah.
nationalized monopoly utilities.
Stable. I mean, like when
Yeah,
back
but it
when
was
anyone
last
gave a shit
upgraded
about it.
when?
And
ES6,
I mean, well,
30 years ago?
But it doesn't need to be. It still does the job.
No, the only reason it still does the job is because nobody's using it.
That too. Fair
Except
enough.
for robodialers.
Well, and
Jesus
it was
Christ.
designed when nobody could envision that we would all have wireless phones. That's
Sure.
my point. Is if
Yeah.
you start nationalizing the internet access, fine, let's do it. But in like 6 years, SpaceX is going to have a constellation of 4,000 satellites. Nobody will use the wired internet anymore.
Okay.
Oh.
That's
Satellite internet overtaking broadband?
Yeah, because it's low Earth orbit, and they're like 4,000 satellites, and so there'll be very low ping times.
There would
because
have to
they're
be
low
very
orbit.
low ping times. I had satellite internet when I was in Afghanistan, and
it
it
was
terrible.
horrible
It was
because
worse
you were
than
going out to-
14.4K.
Because you were going out over geostationary, and it was limited military bandwidth.
Yeah.
So this would be as fast as they can. Like really, your only limitation is the speed of light up to whatever 200 miles and back is.
you're talking gig plus, huh? Or you,
Who knows? I don't know what their planned capacity is, but they were saying somewhere in like 10 to 50 megabits per second, literally anywhere in the world.
What's the bandwidth like? Is it narrowband or is it broadband
Fuck, I don't know.
on satellite?
I don't know the whole thing, but the point is it's
narrowband.
the answer to rural internet. So like, I guess let me
That
bring this.
That would be pretty cool.
Let me bring
not
this
having to
full
run
circle.
wires.
The reason most proponents say that we should nationalize internet access is that it would funnel federal money to develop broadband in rural areas, right? It's the same reason why we have schools in rural areas, right? Because we have a nationalized education system.
But you're saying we won't even need that.
And I'm saying we won't need that. No.
well,
That'd be-
but that's
that's actually a pretty cool thing to think about.
I don't think we will, anyway.
that's
I
not
mean,
yeah, but
assuming
that's
everything
the
goes to
problem.
plan.
Yeah, assuming everything goes to plan, though. That's
What's this?
Whoa, is that Android phone over there acting
Yeah.
up? Hey, Google, what's all the personal data you
we
have
just-
on me?
It's not even active.
Did that get picked up on the microphones?
Probably
We just have
yeah.
We have a spy in our midst.
That
an
sounds like
Android
it, but
phone,
this
isn't
isn't
it?
even activated for
It's Android,
OK
right?
Google. Yeah.
Yeah, Bizarro Doxy called it.
Bizarro Doxy's getting on his platform.
so. I mean, I'm personally more of a fan of nationalizing utilities because I mean, you take something like the telephone service. Like, yes, now it's outdated, of course. Let's rewind back to the early '90s, though. It was nationally run then.
Wait, what was?
The telephone system,
Okay.
plain old, POTS system.
Yeah.
It was nationally run then, and every time you pick up the phone, more likely than not, you're going to hear a dial tone. Like, not
Okay,
hearing one was
so-
like, oh shit.
So I would argue that that's only the case because there's a military need.
And there's not for the internet?
Well, they have their own networks. The military built its own internet.
Fair enough.
So
Now there's
I have little to no trust that they would care, So okay, let me try this one for you.
Okay.
So the other one is that when you have one internet
Okay.
that the government runs, whoever's in power gets to rule how it works. So like
Also
this whole
true.
controversy, let's bring it all back home. This whole controversy about Ajit Pai and net neutrality and all that stuff would not exist if we had a plurality of private companies building and running individual networks that all cooperated together.
As long as they all cooperate together.
That's I mean.
that's the
But
key.
so that's the
plain
ground
nice
that would be the
stuff.
fair market ground rules that the government could establish under already established antitrust laws, right? So you
Yeah.
just say, look, yeah, you can get right of ways, you can put wires in the ground, but you have to peer with each other, which is exactly how it works now or was before net neutrality came out.
If that's the case, then why is there only one or maybe two, in some cases, broadband providers in a city?
Well, because you have providers leveraging the POTS system, so you have the DSL, right? And then you have cable monopolies that were set up by the cable companies back in the 80s. They went to all the municipalities and said, we're going to put all this money bringing cable in, you have to
Yeah.
give us right away, and then we get exclusive rights, right?
Well, my point being that by doing that, we handed it over to private companies. Okay, hooray, we're in an
Sure.
Indian paradise. Hooray.
Yeah, capitalism.
Yeah.
the great chain of whatever. And but the problem is though that just like the guy in chat said, it doesn't solve the monopoly problem.
Well, do they have monopolies in South Korea on internet access?
No idea.
So they have zero or very low regulation in South Korea.
Okay.
And they have the fastest internet in the world and the cheapest internet in the world, and they have like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of options.
Okay.
So my point is that we're screwing something up here, right? South Korea figured out that if the government stays out of the way, you get faster, cheaper internet.
There's got to be something there.
South Korea is also leading the world in faster, cheaper internet.
That's that was my whole point.
Yeah.
Was that, and they have some of the lowest telecommunications regulations over internet access in the world. So I don't know exactly what it is, but I think there might be some telecommunications regulations that make it $1 billion table stakes to get into this business. And so when you have that level of regulation that you have to get over, of course you're going to filter out all of the companies but one or two.
But what kind of regulation would we even be talking about there? Like, because it's got to be
Guaranteed uptime. You have to, like, if you're going to put a single wire in the ground, you have to put wires everywhere, stuff like that. Like, there's all these weird regulations of, like, if you're going to wire a city, you have to make sure that it goes to everybody, or it has to go out to, you have to pay into a fund for rural internet, or I'm sure there's all kinds of weird rules. There's got to be a lot of stumbling blocks. Because if not, then we should start our own ISP here.
I mean, I saw
we
a lot.
can't.
I saw when the whole net neutrality thing was first springing up. I saw a lot of posts of people doing citizens ISPs. Doing the thing from
Yeah,
Mr.
whatever
Robot
happened to
with
those?
cell phone internet.
Yeah, the MVNO stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to do an MVNO once that had its own IPv6/48 and then use the privacy extensions for IPv6 and just roll the IP addresses all the time.
And that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, it's illegal though.
Well, every great idea starts illegal.
Well, it's illegal because you have to be able to account for all usage of internet over mobile because people have to be able to subpoena the records.
People,
Fucking subpoenas.
Right?
No. So putting on my tinfoil hat.
Well, that was my point. Is you can make it impossible by just rolling.
We can't. We
rolling
didn't hear
IPs
what
all
he
the time.
said.
Sorry,
He just said it was
He said, but unless it's impossible.
Oh.
But that would be impossible intentionally, which I don't think would hold up.
What's the difference? He says.
I intentionally made my system so that you can't track people. I think I would be held accountable for not following the law.
Okay, there
There we go.
So
conversation.
Signal purposely makes their app so you can't follow the conversation.
Yes. Well, it's encryption.
Well, when they were subpoenaed and the data they turned over was the fact that what the account was the first time it was connected and the last time it was connected.
Because that's all the data they
It's
know.
all they had.
Yeah, because everything else encrypted.
Yeah, that's everything else was impossible. Right.
Yeah.
And it was manufactured impossible.
So I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that there are laws that say if you operate a telecommunications,
there is.
service, you
There is.
have to have these capabilities, or you're not in compliance with the law.
Right. What was that first voice over IP that they put out? What in the early 2000s? It was home delivery. It was like Cox was delivering, a couple of others were delivering. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was some service for a voice over IP phone in your house, but they didn't have 911 hooked up.
Oh, of course.
And so you got, in order to provide phone service, you have to have 911. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that means it has to be on all the time, even when the power's out.
Right. And yeah. That's the other part. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
So then where does this all tie into why is Ajit Pai, or why does it seem that he's kind of brushing it under a little bit, trying to hold back and wait for something?
Maybe.
No one really knows. I did want to circle back though to South Korea real quick because I was looking it up while you guys were talking. There are 3 ISPs in South Korea.
Did you look at wireless? Because wireless is just nuts there.
I'm talking about ISPs. They provide the broadband and dedicated internet circuit, including Ethernet and operating internet data centers in Seoul. So there's the
Three major ISPs.
Major ISPs are KT Corp, SK Broadband, and LGU Plus, previously Daycom. Major MSOs are T-Broad, C&M, and CJ HelloVision. But the main, let's see, the internet has a higher where'd it go? You gotta love watching somebody read Wikipedia.
Yeah, I actually Google sometimes person reading Wikipedia and then just go through a YouTube playlist.
There you go. Yeah.
When you're really bored and want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, the main reason that it's there it is. The large proportion of South Korea's population living in apartment blocks helps the spread of DSL, as does a high penetration of consumer electronics in general.
Yeah.
So
CNN reports Korean competition. Countries with fast, cheap internet connections tend to have more competition. In the U.S., competition among companies that provide broadband connections is relatively slim. Most people choose between a cable company or a telephone company here in the U.S. In other countries, including South Korea, the choices are more varied. Anyway, just to counter, it is CNN, so salt, words,
but why
words
is
and salt, some assembly required.
Well, okay, let me. So there was something said earlier. I can't remember it now, but there was something said earlier that reminded me of. It was something to the effect of, why haven't we heard about this?
Yeah.
In regards to net neutrality, can't remember exactly what we were talking about, but I wanted to put on my tinfoil hat there because it's really strange that after this whole big push against the repeal of net neutrality, everything kind of went really quiet all of a sudden, with almost it was almost no fanfare.
Well, and that's the other thing.
I wanted to put on my tinfoil hat because I think that I pulled up a list of the things that Comcast owns, and they own NBC Universal. They own a lot of these TV stations. And I was like, well, maybe we haven't heard anything about it because they want to brush it under the rug.
Of course.
They're telling they're telling Sinclair Broadcasting Group, they're telling them don't broadcast anything about net neutrality. We don't want people to remember it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. Also,
and take off my tinfoil hat. It's right here if anybody wants to borrow it.
Oh no, I'm.
You want to borrow my tinfoil hat?
Well, mine. No, I have one. Mine's the Tricorn Patriot tinfoil hat.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Folded it back in the 1700s.
That's origami.
Learned it ever since.
Yeah.
So yeah, they own NBC Universal. Comcast does. I was saying that when I put on my tinfoil hat, that the reason why we stopped hearing about net neutrality after the whole big push when it was repealed was because Comcast was keeping it under the rug, or Sinclair Broadcasting Group was keeping it under the rug, telling people not to do any kind of news on it.
Okay.
But I mean, that's my opinion, not necessarily the truth. That's why the tinfoil hat.
Yeah. So they're expecting. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Well, they're expecting there to be a legal challenge to the law in the first place. So that could be part of it too.
There was a lot of citizens groups and EFF and all these people going to Congress because Congress can overrule the FCC decision. And the last thing I heard was 4 weeks ago, and they had 51 out of the 52 required signatures to bring it to an actual court,
of course,
in front of the Supreme Court. So I'm not sure where that went. I have to look that up actually. I don't know if that's
interesting.
Joe Manchin's ass was no votes.
And that's something you didn't see in the mainstream news, and that's just another thing that leads to my tin hattery.
Right.
Tin Hattery.
Is that your new store?
Yeah, tinhattery.com.
Tin haberdashery.
You never know when they're watching you, because they are.
Tin cobblers too. Conspiracy from your head to your feet.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
So, speaking of internet bullshit, there's an article here about how Richard Stallman, RMS, finally said, "Fuck it, we need a law when it comes to privacy rights on the internet."
Oh yeah.
And if you know anything about Richard Stallman,
I don't.
He started the GNU project, right?
Oh.
One of the early open source advocates.
Okay.
Most famous for starting open source userland software for Unix, right? And a lot of our tools we use today, like Emacs, and I don't know how to pronounce it because I never use
Basically
Emacs. I'm
anything.
Bizarro Doxy. So.
Basically anything open source then, if he was one of the pioneers.
One of the pioneers, yeah. But a lot of the userland stuff. And so Linux, for instance, uses a lot of software that was written by the GNU project and Richard Stallman himself, actually. So he's like a big freedom, like hands-off, old school Berkeley hippie kind of guy. Like, I just want my pot and be left alone, right? Give me the internet and all that. So it's a big deal for him to come out and say, you know, we should have a law that protects our privacy online. And it's actually part of this project. It's called The Internet Apologizes, where they're doing interviews of a bunch of the original internet pioneers.
Did you post that in our Discord?
Did. It's in the
Sweet.
Discord. Here.
Discard.
It's in our Discord.
It's in our Discard.
Yar. Here, I'll put it again.
We have somebody
live
with
stream.
Irish roots in the family who just cringed.
Whoops,
Or
wrong
in
one.
in the pocket in the
Wrong one.
shop who just cringed.
Here's the right one. Yeah, fuck them. We need a law. A legendary programmer takes on Silicon Valley.
Isn't that just more government regulation?
Well,
That's why I'm saying that this is unusual, right? And I think
Yeah.
the only reason this is coming out is because we're seeing the General Data Protection regulation in Europe. The GDPR in Europe is sunrising May 25th, right? So everybody's kind of staring at their belly buttons right now about what we should do about privacy on the internet.
well, with the passing of the Cloud Act, that's a huge deal too.
Yeah.
But
It's funny, like, we passed the exact opposite of the law that British passed at the same
Exactly.
time. Yeah.
exactly.
Well, we're trying to steal all of their data. Have it all moved to us because they can more freedom, right?
It's fitting to do the pirate accent with the rum right there. Well, speaking of privacy, I did want to touch on the
That sounds
fact
good.
that the original Night Stalker / East Area Rapist / Golden State Killer / he has like 100 names. He was caught earlier this week.
And also Kevin, I think.
Yeah, Kevin.
Was
Kevin
he,
is
was
one
he
of
the
his-
Kodiak killer too?
Yeah.
Or the Zodiac killer?
The Kodiak killer.
He
only
they're
hits people
all
in trailer
one
parks.
person.
With
Every one
chew
of
in
these
his mouth.
is just
Kodiak,
one
he's,
person.
he's rolling in packets, right?
Kodiak Killer.
Also
Kodiak.
affiliated with the Wet Bandits.
I hope regular Doxy and Master Chen are on the lookout for the Kodiak Killer up in Alaska.
There you go.
Save all the bears.
Yeah. But he was caught earlier this week, and I thought it was interesting the way he was caught after 50 years. I think
Right,
it was like
yeah,
he was
yeah.
active in the 70s.
So this might actually be the Zodiac killer.
Maybe. They're about a decade
who was the
apart. I
Zodiac
think.
killer?
They're,
Ted Cruz.
They're about Ted Cruz. Yeah. They're about a decade apart. The Zodiac. And
I don't
the-
think they ever caught the
East Area
Zodiac killer.
Rapist. They haven't. They
No,
haven't.
Green River they caught. That was Gary Ridgway.
Oh.
Serial killers?
So yeah, they believe it to be a guy that who's died already. Yeah. So they.
That's a cop out.
Yeah, that's what they said. Yeah.
So they think they figured out who it was and
Yeah.
he's dead.
Yeah, and because of letters that I think his grandson found or something in his house that pretty much confirmed that it was him.
Oh, interesting.
I'll
So
have to
the
look that
Golden
up.
State Killer, though, he was still alive.
He was still alive.
Yeah.
He's like 80. But the way that they found
And
him.
he ran a Nazi concentration camp when he was a kid?
something like
What?
that.
Well, you know, the,
Um,
sorry to distract us, but you know how they're like finding all of the old Nazi collaborators now? Like
Oh,
they're
yeah.
in their 80s
Oh, yeah.
and they're putting them on trial?
Everybody's a Nazi.
Yeah.
Everybody over 75 is
That's
a
what it
Nazi.
reminded me of. It was like, oh, let's put elderly people on trial.
That should have been the title of this episode. Everyone over 75 is a Nazi.
What?
Every-
Yes, for sure. I
And
guess
also Bill
there's
Cosby.
And also Bill Cosby.
No statute of limitations, right? On murder?
No.
Yeah.
But anyway, the way that they caught him,
This is
it,
very
it infringes
interesting.
upon, or it doesn't infringe, but it touches upon
Fourth
our
Amendment.
privacy rights and
Yeah.
Fourth Amendment.
Very
and
specifically
I
the
mean,
Fourth Amendment.
essentially, and also, I mean, ethics, because the way that he was caught was that one of his relatives, and this is kind of, I was reading this article just before we started the show, and there's a lot of like, there's a lot to this. So one of the relatives either went on Ancestry or 23andMe and submitted their DNA, and then got the results back, and then they went to this open source genealogy website called GED Match, uploaded their raw DNA profile just to figure out who specifically they're related to.
So this
And
was not the FBI
No, no,
subpoena
no.
of 23andMe.
No, so 23andMe and Ancestry both are wiping their hands of this because
wow.
they're like, oh, we didn't have anything to do with it. They sent back the results to the guy, and then the woman, the relative. Then the relative uploaded the results willingly to this open source
Where it could be
genealogy
scraped.
website called GED Match, where it could be scraped. And so this open source GED Match site stored all the data, had it open to the public. Anybody can request to see it. And they found a partial match to the DNA that they had on file to the original.
So they had a
stalker,
familial
the
match.
serial rapist,
Yeah.
and they were able to. It's none of the articles are going into depth how they focused in on this guy themselves, but they managed to gather DNA, which means digging through his trash for like a used cigarette or something. Yeah.
Well,
Come on,
that's how they confirmed Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. Is they like, oh wait, no, it's not him. There was another somebody where they sent him a letter and was like, hey,
Lick this envelope.
lick the
Stamp, and they got a match off it.
Don't you love licking envelopes? Here, try it. It tastes great.
These have strawberry glue
But
on.
but yeah, they managed to get the DNA from the relative off of this open source genealogy website, and managed to, for whatever reason, tracked him down, got DNA out of his trash, got 100% match.
Wow.
And they're like, this is definitely the guy. This is
Imagine
him.
being the analyst
And
that
arrested
saw
him at,
that
like, 80-something
automation system
80-something years
flag
old.
that partial.
But what isn't clear, though, is how the law enforcement groups got the DNA profile from GED Match.
That's what I'm wondering. Do they have like an auto scraper automation system that flags
They,
it?
so
Sure they
so
do.
from I don't know much about the website. Just from,
I'm reading
from this article.
their site policy right now to see if there's anything interesting.
From this article, I do know. I didn't go through their policy. It's a good idea. From this article, what I can tell is they use citizen scientists to outsource the DNA matching.
Huh.
It's basically crowdsourced DNA matching.
So GED Match. I don't know that I agree with this. They go at it with like this idea for research, right? But it says, and they're being very honest, the DNA and genealogical data is not encrypted. DNA data is compressed in a proprietary format, which makes it unreadable without a great deal of effort. Genealogical data is stored as plain text in a database. We encrypt your login password before putting it in our database. We cannot tell what your password is. However, there have been cases in the news of encrypt blah, blah, blah. So they care a lot about your password, but not really about your DNA.
Your password's totally safe. Everything else about you, though,
Wide open.
plain text.
Plain text.
We obfuscate some of the data by putting a 1 in front of it.
I love this. DNA data is compressed in a proprietary format, which makes it unreadable without a great deal of effort.
.zpi instead of .zip.
Yeah, right.
Diabolical.
That just sounds like a moral challenge to me
Seriously.
as Bizarro Doxy the hacker.
Yeah, like Bizarro Doc's like cracking his knuckles.
I'm
All
like,
right,
I'm pretty sure I could crank out some Python in a few minutes that would make that
Yeah.
ridiculously easy.
So I mean, this infringes upon privacy of. I mean, yeah, sure, you upload your own.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a gray area here because I'm not sure. You upload your DNA to this website
Yep.
willingly.
Yeah.
So at that point, like,
Well,
Kind of on you.
so well, no. Okay, so like one of the provisions in the GDPR is
I feel
that
like
you
this
have
is part of the laws that Richard Stallman's calling for.
yeah.
It's like
I think so.
database protection by default.
Yes.
You know,
So
like
on
that.
May 25th, everybody get ready for this. But when GDPR sunrises, every website on the internet is going to have an interstitial. You know what an interstitial is, right? Covers the entire screen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to ask you for consent for 6 different things. And they cannot be default checked on. So, you know, they're not going to be able to take advantage of people going, yeah, I just want to read the article, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of feel like a site like this, and this is what Richard Stallman's probably asking for, is we need to be much more upfront with users about what to expect the site to do with their data. Trying to put this in the right
Well,
perspective here.
I mean, that makes sense because a lot of times EULAs don't hold up in court because they're not in a way that
Well-
the average user can understand. They're
well,
not written
and
in
that's
a
the
way.
shrink wrap law, right?
Yeah.
Remember when they challenged that in court? It was like, what if you break the seal, then you agree to the EULA, but you can't read the EULA unless you break the seal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? That's I mean, that was an early Microsoft lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. GED Match, do a better job. Just from a human to another human, do a better
just-
job telling them about this, telling your users about this.
Fascinated by something calling themselves an open source genealogy website.
No, I
the
get
fact
that.
they crowdsource their DNA sequencing. which is,
That's awesome, but I feel like they totally missed the opportunity to say, we're going to have this as a user consent, a human-driven platform. Like, open source has always been about empowering the little guy, right? I mean, why did Linus Torvalds write Linux? He couldn't afford a copy of Minix. a commercial Unix distribution for college. So he just wrote his own, right? I mean, it's always been about people who don't have a lot of power or a lot of money in this world being empowered with technology.
Right.
So GED match here definitely missed the ball, or dropped the ball on this. Like, I feel like they could have built a system that was, hey, we're going to upload it. It's going to be encrypted. You're going to have the keys. However, from time to time, if we're going to participate in some real research, we'll ask you. And we'll ask you nicely, human to human. Look, the CDC has come to us and wants to do a broad-based cancer research. You know, this might actually move the needle on breast cancer or whatever. Do you consent for, to provide your DNA data to this research?
That sounds super reasonable, and governments hate it.
I know, because I kind of feel like if people were treated like human beings and just asked nicely and told why people want the data, and were honest about why they want the data.
I would be willing to cooperate.
Yeah. The problem is that the ways people make money with people's data are things that normal people would not be okay with.
Right. That's why they make money from them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've got this weird thing. It's sort of like, as long as it's illicit and kind of, in the shadows, it's valuable in some way. But if you're talking about there might be some public good that comes from it, I can't imagine there would be anybody except the most hardened privacy advocates that would say no. Like, everybody would be like, of course, use my data for cancer research.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like the percentage of those people are small enough where it wouldn't affect the data in a grand scheme.
Yeah, the CDC will go, great, your genetic lines are going to be over. We'll cure cancer for everybody else, but all you privacy people...
They send everybody a Darwin Award.
Oh my God.
All those people are
think about how that would affect humans as a species if the only people who got cured of diseases were people who had no privacy, no sense of core privacy protection. As humans over a few generations, we suddenly become like, oh, I don't care, everybody have everything.
That's going from natural selection to selective selection.
That's what I'm saying. It's like breeding any kind of animal, like selective breeding of any kind of animal. It's also called eugenics.
Eugenics, yeah.
Yeah.
So there would have to be a lot of, to make that workable, there would have to be a lot of penalty for breaking that contract. Say the CDC got the data that was permitted.
Yeah.
And then they didn't protect it well or passed it on.
Nope. So you know how you solve this problem?
That's a really good point.
You know how you solve this problem?
More government regulation.
No.
Oh.
I'm going to tell you right now, and this is a buzzword everybody hates right now, but
Synergy.
Literally, blockchain.
I really hate synergy.
Literally
Yeah. Dynamic paradigms.
Hey.
What?
Blockchains themselves are designed specifically to track the provenance of data. Okay, so I give it to CDC, that gets recorded in the blockchain, right? I disclose the keys so they can decrypt my data, right? When they access the data and decrypt it, they record something because I'm going to want receipt of it. I want them to prove when they decrypted it and how they used it. And then, part of the reason the GDPR exists in Europe is you have a right to request delete. So I would grant them access to the data with an official request that they delete it upon when they're done with the conclusion of the study, and then they would have to prove to me that they did it, and there is a legal penalty for it. So yes, there is some government regulation, right? It has to have teeth in this, but it's enforceable now because we have blockchains.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Right.
yeah, but all you have to do is fork the blockchain, and then who tracks what?
That's not how these work.
Okay.
These are permission networks. They're not on the public network, and they have legal teeth and participation.
So we have
And what's your beef with government regulations?
Oh, he's giving me a hard time because
I
don't have one. I think
because
they're good.
Bizarro Doxy's a hardcore lolbertarian.
In our Discord, we have a question that I can't answer, but you might be able to.
Yeah.
Someone's asking, with the GDPR, will Facebook shadow profiles of people that aren't their users be legal in Europe?
I don't know. What does Chen say? I anal.
Yeah.
I am not a lawyer.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case. I do know that they collect all that data, though. Like, they have accounts for people who aren't even Facebook members.
Yeah.
I would assume that the answer is no, because they can't get consent.
Yeah. They
Right.
can't consent in the first place. So
The thing about GDPR is they cannot collect any data on you, or very little data on you, unless you consent.
The caveat to that, though, and again, I'm not a lawyer, would be for European citizens. For American citizens living in Europe, though, they still fall under the Cloud Act that we talked about a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
So if it were to be illegal for European citizens, it would still be legal for American citizens to have shadow profiles on Facebook.
But then at least that I think I
Interesting.
talked about this at the time. At least then that framework would be present for them to be able to say, in other words, Facebook would already have everything in place in order to say, okay, if you haven't consented to this, then we won't collect data on you. So it does make it kind of easier for us to get it if we can get our politicians to do it. But
Nah. What is the answer of the day? I'm sorry, Senator. I run this company and I have no idea how it works.
yeah.
Community.
I get it.
So what? In Europe, they have to be able to request their data.
Yep,
right.
That's part of GDPR.
How do you request data that isn't about you? Because it's anonymized, right?
You can't.
You see, because Google tracks you as this anonymous
No,
component.
that's not true.
But you're never named.
No, that is literally not true.
Yeah.
Okay.
They use correlation, so they link you. So once they find out what your name is, that's also just one other data point that gets linked to everything else they know about you.
Yeah, but why would they put that in there as long as they can keep it anonymous but still have? You see what I'm saying?
Well, because sometimes a name is the only way to link it and monetize it.
But what he's saying is if you leave out the name,
Yeah,
then that's
that might
way
be
of
a
skirting
loophole.
the law. Yeah. Pretty sure they wouldn't
Do
see
they
it
just
that
assign
way.
you like a?
I'm sure
a
Google would
tracking
see it
ID
that way.
then instead
I'm
of
pretty
a
sure the
name?
government
Like,
of
is
Britain-
there like a personal GUID that isn't social security number?
Yeah, I honestly I don't know how that works, but I do know that like here in the United States, Google does everything they can to link every little piece of data together, including your name.
Yeah.
Right.
That'd be interesting to find out. This is exactly how that kind of thing works.
That's
how
a good
Google
point,
links
though.
all this stuff.
That's
Yeah.
a really good point. Like there might be some loopholes here that will get exploited.
Yeah, the data is supposed to be anonymized, but Google has to link it in some way. It's like the Facebook hospital thing that we talked about a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh no, it won't violate HIPAA because the data is anonymized between both. I'm like, but
Oh.
then how are you linking Facebook users to this hospital data?
Yeah.
There has to be a commonality there.
What's their name?
So
Yeah.
there was a
Social security
reporter who was asking Cambridge Analytics what they had on him, and it came back. It was a very short list about basically what he did on the internet and who he supported. But it was a very short list. It was about 10 items.
Yeah.
Never had his name. Didn't have any identifying information.
But how'd they know it was him?
Exactly.
Is
It's because they're not showing all the data.
Right.
Yeah,
They're
it's-
not holding all the cards.
It's
They're not
because
showing
of
all their
GED
cards.
match putting their no, I'm just
No, but they're clear that there's no way that could happen.
GD match. Yeah.
Unless they had to look at his computer. There's like, hey, we'll get the parameters of your browser or whatever that we allow, that the 3 or 4 things that make you unique on the internet. Unless they were able to get those, then they had to have had his
that's
name.
some crazy behavioral matching.
Right.
Then if they're trying
That's not
they're-
behavioral matching. No, it's if they can get his profile, his browser.
Yeah.
Like there's like 15 different ways that people can be measured in their browser. You only need 3 or 4 of them to uniquely identify a single human on the planet. Like what fonts are installed, what graphics card they have, what operating system they have.
And it's not just somebody using their computer.
Yeah. Well, you don't know, but like statistically.
Well, you don't know. I mean, there's
But
still a little
but,
bit.
But
there's
like
still a little
computers
bit
are
of-
like toothbrushes. Like
I
if
mean,
you can
literally
if you
they
can
are like
eliminate everybody
toothbrushes.
but 8 computers in the world, they're not all going to be in this room, or they're not all going to be in Vegas,
Yeah.
or they're not going to be
Yeah.
in the western part of the United
Yeah,
States.
Yeah.
so the IP address alone narrows you down to a very small geographical area,
Yeah.
and then you only need a couple other pieces, and it's like, oh, that's Bizarro
But,
doxing
I mean,
in Vegas.
there's still a chance, though. Even if there are only 8 people who use that computer, there's still a chance, though, that it's not you.
I
It
would
could be one of
challenge
8
you on that.
people.
I would
But-
truly challenge you on that. I think computers are like toothbrushes.
Well,
If-
they
uh,
could be, but in like a digital forensics, like in pretty much every SANS course that I've ever
Oh,
researched,
for sure, you can't
they-
ever prove.
Yeah, unless
Yeah.
there's literally webcam at the person, webcam at the keyboard,
Or they used a
and
fingerprint to
everything.
like
log it.
legally, you can't
Yeah,
prove it.
legally
But
can't.
I do.
If they use
do.
a fingerprint to unlock the device, you can.
Yeah, because Fourth Amendment no longer exists. So
For that anyway, because they can force you to put your finger on a device.
yeah, biometrics. Don't protect your phones with biometrics. Use a password.
Yeah, that's why all the iPhones have the fingerprint reader now.
Well, now they're doing face, which is just
And
another
face,
thing
too.
of biometrics.
Yeah.
But I find that fascinating, and I really do want to get on that maybe whenever you come back, Bizarro Doxy, because that's a fascinating subject. That
I have a lot of cheese to eat. I'll be back in a while.
I'm really interested in that. I'll save it.
I don't want to get into a sinkhole on this one,
but I do want to say that, like, you mentioned kind of offhand that they matched them by SSN, which scares me, the Facebook and hospitals, because Facebook doesn't collect Social Security number. So if they have your Social Security number, that's scary to me.
But if they did, they got it from some other data source.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Facebook doesn't ask you.
They
for
probably
your
got it from your
SSN
bank,
but the hospital does.
They don't ask for your Social Security number when you sign into when you create an account on Facebook.
But they probably got it from your bank for like KYC reasons, right? So your
that
bank
scares me. That scares me if they do have Social Security number, because honestly, I can't think of another way that they can link hospital data to your Facebook profile without de-anonymizing the data.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's another thing that kind of, I'm glad they never went through with that, but still, the fact that they could have.
Right.
Well, I mean, maybe it was just your exercise app. Like, sorry to shift gears here, but one of the other
Anything
topics
that
tonight.
connects to Facebook.
Yeah, one of the other topics tonight is, in case you missed it, one of the largest data breaches in history was just announced, and it was MyFitnessPal.
MyFitnessPal, yeah.
Yeah, right. 150 million users.
That's what you get for working out.
Current year, people, March 25th, 2018.
It sounds like it's second to the. It's only second to the, what's it called? Experience.
Oh yeah, Equifax.
Equifax. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're running a little bit out of time. We can continue talking. I do want you to mention, because you weren't here last week, but we did talk about the Gray app last week.
Yeah, the Gray Key.
Gray Key.
Yeah, so
And
update on the Gray Key.
Yeah, you kind of had an update for it.
So the Gray Key is this cool device, or not cool device, that can unlock iPhones by brute forcing the passwords, right? And so law enforcement are just scrambling for these things, and they're charging like $15K, $30K for these boxes, and getting filthy rich off of basically allowing police agencies to, violate our privacy, right? They don't, if they can get in without, I don't know what the threshold is for getting a subpoena or whatever, I guess, but whatever. If they get your phone, they can get into your phone.
Mm-hmm.
And
we talked about it last week. They have the actual block has two plugs on it. You plug one phone in, then you plug the phone that you want to get into in on it, and it somehow bypasses the password lockout.
Yeah.
The attempt lockout.
And somehow, yeah. So turns out the creators of Gray Key were hacked themselves. And apparently source code was stolen, and now they're being it's extortion for 2 Bitcoins to keep it secret.
So wasn't there an argument of, let's give this to law enforcement because that's okay, the bad guys won't get it.
Yeah,
And
that was their main argument
now-
from a business
And now
standpoint.
the bad guys
like,
got it.
we're
bad
all
guys,
for yeah.
bad
we're all
guys
for
in air quotes.
Yeah.
Well, what I want to know is, why isn't Apple like 2 Bitcoin?
Yeah,
Here you go.
Yeah.
Apple
Let's
could-
outbid them.
Apple
Yeah.
could shell out. Apple could shell out 6 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
3 times the amount that they're asking for, and then proprietize that source code.
Oh my God, they could buy the company.
They could buy the company.
They could totally buy the
They could
company.
be like, how did they subvert our password lockout? Oh, that's how they did it. Oh, just write this into our iOS next version.
exactly.
If Gray Key version equals 1, stop. Just end. No, like
What's the Apple bug bounty for something like this?
I don't think they have a bug.
I don't
bounty.
think they
oh no, I'm sure they do.
They
Yeah,
do.
Is it a
yeah.
hit- is it
so
hidden
why doesn't
figure?
why doesn't Apple just offer them the bug bounty?
I don't know if they have a public figure for their.
Is it greater than 2 Bitcoin?
Do
Which
they
is
have-
what?
Apple's
What-
bug
what-
bounty
what's-
program
what's
faltered
2
due to
Bitcoin right now? Is it
low
like
14,
14K?
15,000, something like that.
Yeah, 14K.
iPhone bugs. Oh, this is why iPhone bugs are too valuable to report to Apple.
Oh yeah.
Because Apple's
that's it,
payouts
that's
are
it.
so low, they're not outbidding the black
They
market.
have a bug bounty for basically just iTunes.
Well, but
If you find a problem with iTunes, we'll pay you. If you find a problem with iPhone, go fuck yourselves.
So, by the way, sorry, I want to take on a 2-second tangent in this one. It's going to be like
No,
2
that's fine.
second times 1,000. But
It's fine.
there is a PhD paper in economics that needs to be written. I challenge somebody out there who's even remotely economics minded.
As a thesis idea.
Talk to the company HackerOne. They run bug bounties for a ton of companies like Netflix and big internet companies and small internet companies. They have tons and tons of data about bugs being reported and bounties being paid out. So they have economics data. Like I want the Freakonomics people to look at this, because this is a very unique economic market, right? When you're paying out a bug bounty, you're literally trying to outbid the black market. Okay,
Yeah.
but you have no price signaling from the black market unless you're actually participating in the black market. But that's illegal.
Well, I mean,
Like if I was like, say Bizarro Doxy is a security person.
Yeah.
Just to say, and I run a bug bounty for a very well-known internet organization, and I use HackerOne, and it would be illegal for me to go into the black market and to bid on exploits for the software that I am running a bug bounty on. And a lot of these places you have to be vouched for to get into anyway. So I would have to participate in whatever it takes to establish a reputation and be invited in. So I'd have to be a legitimate hacker. I'd have to break into stuff, whatever, prove my chops to get into these markets.
Get your street cred.
Right?
Get shot a couple times.
But I'm not gonna, because I'm a white hat hacker.
Oh.
So I have no signal. I have no price signaling. I don't know what to price my bug bounties at so that I can effectively outbid the black market. And the software that I'm running a bug bounty on is foundational platform stuff that's being used in banks and healthcare, like organizations and governments, and like it's a serious piece of software. But I have no way of pricing bugs in my software. So anybody out there who's even remotely into economics
well, I
should
do
look at this, because under an educational banner, you might be able to gain access to the black market, or at least get some black market data anecdotally from people who are. So try to find anonymous people or whatever who are willing to talk to you and say, oh, here are what we're seeing in prices, or talk to the FBI. I'm sure the FBI have infiltrated these things. It would be very instructive for the software world out there to be able to try to properly price what these bugs cost. Because I guarantee you, if Apple knew that an iPhone bug was like $1 million in a black market, they'd be like, oh yeah, we'll pay 1.5.
Yeah.
Because they care about their product.
Yeah, I agree. But I do have two things I want to say. They're kind of opposing ideas, and one is actually a tangent. But anyway, the first thing I want to say is you're not just, if you're offering a bug bounty, it's not strictly just the price, the number that you're offering. You're also offering like a moral way out too. Because maybe these people who find the bugs don't want to be a black hat. They don't want to go with the illegal way. Even if the black market does pay more, they might want to go the legal route anyway.
Honestly, I don't believe
they can avoid prison.
I think most hackers are chaotic neutral. I really believe they don't care.
I mean, that might be true. That might be true, and that's probably some of the research that would need to be done.
Right. That would be a question to ask.
Yeah.
Right. Why do you participate in a bug bounty?
But yeah, exactly.
Instead of just going on the black market and trying to get the best price.
Maybe some people want to avoid prison any way they can. They're like, well, I can make a few extra dollars doing it the legal way, and I can avoid prison, or I can make a lot of extra dollars doing it the illegal way, and I have to kind of wash my tracks.
I honestly think, and again, I'm not a lawyer, I think selling these bugs in the black market is not illegal. Because what are you doing? You're being paid for research data.
But you're also telling people how to exploit these programs, which could lead to illegal things.
We'd have to look at like the Electronic
area.
Trespass Act and hacking and all that. Like, does it cover teaching people how to do it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I can teach you how to shoot a gun, but I'm not guilty when you pull the trigger and kill somebody. I taught you how to shoot. But I'm not. I may be like morally complicit, but I'm not legally complicit in your murder.
It's like websites being like, "Here's a torrent, but don't share it. We're not telling you to share it, but here's a torrent, but don't share it."
I know, but that's why the torrent sites don't get shut down.
That's why the torrent sites are legal.
Yeah.
But it's really like technology law is so strange, and so there's so many rules and weird regulations to it because people don't understand it enough to make actual laws that make sense.
It's extremely interesting.
That would be an interesting paper.
Yeah.
The second thing I wanted to say, which was kind of like the opposite of the first thing about people, being naturally good, is that you could probably, and please don't do this, but you could probably set up a website, an app like this, as if you were a hacker, as like a money laundering thing, and purposely introduce bugs for the bug bounty, and
use that as the way to launder money.
So
it's like
which I
buggysoftware.org.
Yeah, I wonder if that actually happened. I wonder if that's actually like a thing that happened, because I'd be willing to bet that FBI looks at that sort of thing too.
Well, I do know that we have a policy that we do not pay out bounties to anybody who's contributed to the software.
Okay,
So
that's
if you are
or,
in any,
knows anybody who contributed to the software.
well, no, we don't go that far.
Oh.
If you're in the authors list, you are ineligible
Ah.
for a bug bounty payout.
But relatives of the authors can do it.
Whatever. If you want to hack me, for, like social engineering, here's my golf clap. Great.
But yeah,
And I didn't give you permission to do it, so don't do it. Don't be a jerk.
yeah, no, don't do that. Don't launder money. Don't steal.
Yeah.
Don't steal.
You know, I was gonna steal, but now that you said that, I'm not gonna.
And I had this really meaningful look at the camera too.
Yeah, no, that was good.
Like,
Nice.
I feel like time slowed down and there was a Sarah McLachlan song going on.
That
in the
was
background.
that's your PSA face, right?
Yeah.
Your public service announcement face. Don't steal, kids.
Here we go.
Laundering money is just a government regulation.
Oh, there it is. Oh, man.
Troll.
Do you guys
Less
want to do
government
the?
regulation like Flint.
Do you guys want to do the lightning round? I mean, we're already over time, but
Man,
Let's make it quick.
I'm all greased up and ready to
Just do a
wrestle.
couple. 2 or 3.
who wants to go first?
Because that gets me excited.
I'll go first.
You'll go
Bizarro
first?
Doxy's totally into that.
All right, we're gonna go counterclockwise for this one.
All right.
All right, so the first topic, and again, these articles come from zd.net.com/topic/security,
Surf on the internet.
because it is currently the one that has the least clickbaity headlines.
Great.
So I guess I should do this because Chen normally does it. I don't do this. If you're unfamiliar with the lightning round, what we do is we go to this website that I just mentioned earlier, and we just read off the headlines, and we give our short opinions about it, but we encourage you, if you're interested, to read the headlines and form an opinion for yourself. First headline: Being in the modern world, one ID, but 18 different people. And the subtext is, your ID doesn't change, but you're the same person throughout your day. You're not the same person throughout your day. So
What?
I guess what this is saying is
We all have schizophrenia.
yeah. I guess what this is saying
SSRIs,
is
man. That's bad juju.
I won't know. I guess this is kind of clickbaity, this article, because it doesn't really explain what it's saying, but I read it as you have like a digital ID and you're identified as different people throughout your day as a source of protection. But again, I didn't read the article.
Yeah, that's. I would
okay.
absolutely have to read the article. What are your thoughts?
Maybe what they're getting at is that we all have different roles in our lives, and that algorithms that are used to target us with advertising and political messaging and all that stuff are unemotional robots and are incapable of grasping the fact that we are, in this case, because we're all guys, we're brothers and sons and boyfriends and husbands and fathers and and coworkers, and we all have these different roles in our lives, and we have different opinions and behave differently when we're in those places.
It's a good point.
So that's what they're IDing.
Well, but to the algorithms,
Yeah.
you're the same fucking dude.
yeah,
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
if only they had access to our browsers.
So if you're a real dick at work, they're thinking you're a terrible father at home.
Yeah.
It's possible.
One ID, but 18 different people. And if you want to know more about that, you should look at my YouTube.
Oh, jeez.
Schizophrenia is a bitch. Community mic.
Kids.
We all suck puppets now.
Yeah.
Troll again.
All right, next article. Brazilian central bank regulates credit fintechs. New rules enable startups to provide loans without the intermediation of banks under direct peer-to-peer models. Direct or peer-to-peer models.
What say you?
I mean, it's come from Brazil. Isn't there a lot of bad shit that happens there?
Yeah, like soccer stadiums that are terrible and get Olympic athletes sick.
I like it. I don't think banks should have a monopoly on this.
No.
I think specifically all of the micro-lending stuff is doing good work.
Fewer
And-
monopolies is usually always a good thing, except for the Milton Bradley game. We should have more of those.
Sites like organizations like Kiva.org, for instance, are trying to build credit worthiness and credit histories for the other 6 billion people on the planet. And the only way they can do it is by making a bank unnecessary. I mean, they call them the unbanked for a reason, right? I like it. P2P, great.
That makes.
So Brazilian central bank regulate credit fintechs. That's a lot of banks.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
there's
like more than $1 billion, right? A Brazilian?
a Brazilian. Well, it's real narrow. It's kind of small.
Oh, okay.
I think it's
Just a small sector.
I think
real
it's
narrow.
I think it's funny that they're like new rules enable startups to provide loans, which is weird because why would startups be providing the loans? Aren't they usually the ones taking the
That's a
loans?
good point.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they're banking startups, right? They want to
Oh,
do
banking
micro
startups.
lending.
That makes so
startups.
much more. I was thinking of
Yeah.
like technology startups
No.
because we're on a
All right, next one.
technology website. Experts rip Ray Ozzy's plan for unlocking encrypted phones. The former Microsoft executive's idea collapsed in the face of expert scrutiny.
Does this have anything to do with the gray box?
No.
Gray key.
Gray key?
No. It's not just iPhones. It's so a Microsoft executive named Ray Ozzy had a plan for unlocking encrypted phones, and it, to use the words of ZD.net or ZDNet.com, collapsed in the face of expert scrutiny.
Well, I mean, I guess that's not bad. It's good.
Cryptography is hard. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe he only tried it out on his phone and he just happened to have 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's like I've got it. all phones.
Encryption without a
Wait.
encryption with a backdoor is not encryption.
Give me right.
It's DOS 3.0 again.
Windows Vista. What was the one? What was the one?
Bob.
That was,
Oh, God.
Microsoft Bob.
what was the one? What was the Windows ME? The one that was
Oh,
a mix
yeah.
of NTFS and DOS. Oh God, who
Yeah.
came up with that idea?
I'm sure that guy. No, I'm not even gonna say it. That. I
Yeah.
was gonna
Between
say.
98 and Vista, right?
Yeah.
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 Oh, wait.
Let's
Yeah, it was
see.
Windows
ME
2000
was in-
ME, right?
Yeah, it was 2000 and ME.
Yeah,
then
Millennial
Vista.
Edition.
Yeah.
That was
Vista.
between 98 and XP.
Right.
Edition.
And then after XP was Vista.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it should be like maximum. What do we say for E? Maximum.
Effort.
Effort.
Yeah.
Can't install it.
Did you notice, like Windows versions are kind of like Star Trek movies. You miss every other one, and you're good.
And you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you really want to know how Microsoft fucked up Windows, read about the history of NT.
Okay.
Windows NT was fan-fucking-tastic because it was written by the DEC engineers that they hired.
Yeah.
It had real security. And then they wanted to play games on it. And they were like, well, we can't play games on a system that has real security. So they got rid of the security rather than say, hey, let's make games better.
Oh, great.
I'm skipping a bunch down. This is going to be the last one for the day because the rest of these seem kind of. Well, this one's kind of interesting. We won't talk about it, but Equifax spent $242.7 million on its data breach mitigation.
Roughly
Anyway,
$1 per person.
not even, not even.
Wow.
Like 50 cents per
50
person.
cents per person.
So, all right. So the last one we're going to do is IT must patch against Total Meltdown now. The source code is on GitHub. A patch for Meltdown created an even bigger flaw for Windows 64-bit Windows 7 and Server 2008 R2, and the source code of the patch is freely available. My question is anybody going to act on this?
See, here's the thing.
Because nobody runs Windows Server, is that what you're saying?
Well,
No,
I mean,
because I mean it's up to IT to do it manually now.
that's what I was about to say. As a former sysadmin, I cringe at patching things, especially on the weekends. So it's never gonna get it.
I did
It's never
something.
gonna
I did something really bad today.
Oh,
I
dude.
patched something
Why would
on
you
a
do
Friday.
It's not the weekend yet.
I patched something on a Friday.
Whoa, oh my
I know.
God. You know you never release
I know.
software on a Friday.
I know.
You never update anything on a
Don't do any
Friday.
And you never patch
deployments.
on
don't
Friday.
do any
Because you
patches.
guarantee that's like dropping a nuclear bomb on your weekend.
Yeah.
You know, I had so little excitement this past week. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do the
I don't
want to
be bored this weekend.
Like that's how marriages end. That's how your children abandon you.
I too like to
just-
live dangerously. I patch software on a Friday.
Dad,
At
it's
3
Christmas.
o'clock.
Where are you? I melted the servers. Don't ever do that.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else on this? IT must patch against Meltdown.
They
the source is
should,
freely
or-
available.
I mean,
No,
they
you know what they should do?
But it's probably not gonna happen.
They should just use Linux. I'm sorry, that's the answer. Linux 1. It's free.
I
Use it.
think wasn't Linux
Effective.
because I feel like
It was.
it was Intel chips.
It
that
was
were
because it was a
the
chip
cause,
thing,
yeah.
but the platforms that were fixed first were
were
all
Linux,
the Linux
yeah.
machines.
The kernels got fixed, got patched. Really
I think
quickly.
they measured it in hours
Does
not
it
days.
did it matter which distro, or was it just anything based off
It was
this
kernel.
Linux kernel was
Yeah,
okay.
and it was kernel based, and I think the answer was to disable certain versions or certain kinds of virtualization, but I don't know exactly the details. I just know that the Linux kernel team was like on that hard. Like
Yeah.
the second it was released, they were like, "Oh, here's my patch."
And that's I mean that's part of the glory of an open source paradigm when it comes to software.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll start using Linux as soon as somebody comes up with an Outlook replacement that the VP of marketing can't tell isn't Outlook.
Yeah.
You know the greatest mistake Microsoft ever made was not doing what Apple did. So Apple
What?
operating system is BSD Unix with cool stuff on top.
Right.
Microsoft had an opportunity in the mid 2000s, late 2000s, like 2008. They could have released the next version of Windows could have been a Linux kernel with Windows userland on it. Right,
that's
so
how
you can
they're
run
gonna-
Office on a Linux kernel, have real security, but you can run all your Windows software because
It
they
works
would
way
take.
better than Wine.
Well, they would take over the Wine project. They would be like, haha, you guys are fools. Here's the real source code for the Win32 layer. We'll adapt it to the Linux kernel, and boom, you've got the entire Windows ecosystem running on an operating system that has real security.
Yeah, that's how the Microsoft's plan to fix the Internet of Things is with Linux.
Yeah, well, I mean, to Microsoft's credit, they are the single largest contributor to the Linux kernel
I
project.
feel like that exists in whatever land Bizarro Doxy comes from.
So the truth about Microsoft being the biggest contributor to Linux, no, that's not Bizarro Land.
No.
That's true.
I mean, the Windows built on a Linux.
Oh, that's a Bizarro Land fantasy. Yeah, yeah.
No, it's coming.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Maybe. I mean, Microsoft now has like 50 companies that all call themselves Microsoft. So maybe some rogue faction will go out and take over Mars and release one.
Next Xbox is releasing with Linux, right?
It wouldn't surprise me. It
Running
would not
Steam,
surprise
right?
me. Yeah, the Steam box ran on Linux.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Wait,
Like, it would
what-
not surprise me.
What is the Xbox running on? I thought it was running on.
No, it has embedded Windows on it.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh yeah. You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah.
No. I thought it was. Oh,
That
God.
Windows phone you hate? Yeah, that's your Xbox.
Oh no, I don't have an Xbox. Thank God.
I run a PS4. I'm saying, Bizarro Doxy.
Yeah.
All the DC games are on PS4.
To be fair, regular Doxy really likes Injustice, and I feel like that clashes with his morals.
He secretly likes Wonder Woman too.
Oh.
I never let him forget it.
He's pretty obsessed with Wonder Woman.
It's a pretty
In like a
badass
gross
movie.
way.
It was
I've never
really
seen it.
No, no.
Oh, you
not,
haven't?
Not the movie.
Oh.
The woman.
Gal Gadot?
Just the woman.
No. The Wonder Woman.
The Wonder Woman. Isn't that all of them?
Well, I tried,
Aw.
man. I tried.
All right. So if anybody have anything else, and
No.
I think that leads us to the end of the show.
You know, we're out of time.
We are out of time. We have a lot more to say. I can't. Chen trademarked it somehow.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, like mentally trademarked it in my head. But thank you for tuning into the Greynoise podcast. We're here every week, Friday night at 7:30. Thank you, Bizarro Doxy, from joining us in our realm.
You're welcome. I need to board my ship soon. It's done fueling up.
The SS Cheese Stick.
The SS cheese stick, yeah.
The
I was
SS
watching
Gruyere.
Buckaroo Banzai the other night. I kind of feel like it's that crazy spaceship that the aliens come in on. Yeah.
Does it make that noise, the old 50s sci-fi noise? The whoop, 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 whoop?
Yeah. That powers the engines.
Anyway, thank you for tuning in to our show. We record out of the Sin Shop here in Henderson, Nevada every week. Come see us. It's really cool. Come join our Discord. The link is on our website, which is, I never said our website today. So this is how you know I'm new to hosting. It's Greynoise, GREYNOI.SE. Thank you for tuning in again. My name is BGM.
I'm Zenify.
Bizarro Doxy.
And I'm Richard Satchel.
Have a good night.
Such
Did
a
you just
dick
get his
bag.
name?